3:17 a.m. Black Dolphin Prison, Russia. The most brutal maximum security facility on Earth. Cell 4B. A prisoner sits upright on his concrete bunk, not sleeping. He hasn't slept in 48 hours. In Russia, they don't tell you when your execution is coming. No last meal. No final words. No warning. One morning, guards simply appear at your cell, read a single sentence, and you have 15 minutes before you die. The prisoner in Cell 4B is Anatoly Slivko, convicted of killing 7 children. He's been on death row for 6 years. Every single morning at 3 a.m., he wakes up wondering if today is the day. What you're about to see is the final 24 hours of a man living on Russia's death row. And what happens at different times throughout this day will absolutely shock you. Before we go inside Black Dolphin, if you're into the darkest prison stories from around the world, you need to subscribe right now. I cover cases the media won't touch, from the most dangerous prisons on the planet. Hit that like button because this one's going to be intense. 90% of you aren't subscribed yet, so change that. Now, let's step inside the gates of Russia's most feared prison. 6 a.m. sharp. A metal baton slams against the bars of every cell in the death row wing. Padyam. Wake up. The morning ritual at Black Dolphin Prison begins like every other day for the past 2,000 days. Anatoly Slivko swings his legs off the concrete slab that serves as his bed. No mattress. No pillow. Just cold stone. His cell is 6 feet by 9 feet. Smaller than a parking space. The walls are painted gray, stained with years of moisture and God knows what else. A single barred window near the ceiling lets in a sliver of frozen Siberian air. The temperature inside? Maybe 40 degrees Fahrenheit. There's a metal toilet in the corner with no seat. A small sink that only runs cold water. That's it. Slivko has lived in this box for 6 years, waiting to die. He stands, his joints cracking from the cold. At 52 years old, he looks 70. Prison has aged him like nothing else could. 6:30 a.m. All death row prisoners are ordered to stand at their cell doors for inspection. Guards walk down the corridor, checking each inmate. But there's a twist unique to Black Dolphin. Every prisoner must face the wall, hands behind their back, head down. They're not allowed to look at the guards. Ever. Slivko presses his forehead against the cold concrete wall of his cell. He hears the boots approaching. Heavy. Deliberate. The guard stops at his cell, peers through the bars, checks a clipboard. No words. Just the scratch of a pen marking attendance. Then, the boots move on. This happens every single morning. It's psychological warfare. The guards want inmates to feel powerless, invisible, less than human. And it works. Slivko hasn't made eye contact with another human being in 3 years. In Russia, death row isn't just about waiting to die. It's about being erased while you're still breathing. 7:15 a.m. A metal slot at the bottom of the cell door scrapes open. A tray slides through. Breakfast. Slivko crouches down and pulls it into his cell. On the tray, a chunk of black bread, hard as a rock. A bowl of watery kasha, a tasteless grain porridge. A tin cup of lukewarm tea. No sugar. No salt. This is breakfast. It's also lunch. And dinner. The menu never changes. Slivko sits on his bunk and eats slowly. Not because he's savoring it, but because he has nothing else to do. Meals are the only events that mark time in this place. Without them, the days blur together into an endless, gray nightmare. He finishes the bread first, then the kasha. The tea is last. He drinks it in tiny sips, making it last as long as possible. When the cup is empty, he places the tray back at the door slot. Within minutes, it's pulled away. The slot slams shut. And just like that, human interaction is over for another few hours. 9 a.m. This is when executions happen. Slivko knows this. Every death row prisoner knows this. In Russia, execution teams arrive between 9 and 10 a.m. They walk down the corridor, their boots echoing off the concrete. They stop at a cell. They read the execution order. 15 minutes later, the prisoner is dead. Slivko sits on his bunk, ears straining. He hears the heavy door at the end of the corridor creak open. Footsteps. His heart pounds. Are they coming for him? The footsteps get louder. Closer. Cell 4A. Not his. Cell 4B. His cell. The footsteps pass. They stop 3 doors down. Cell 4E. Slivko exhales. Not today. He hears muffled voices. A man screaming. Pleading. Niet. Niet. Pocaluista. No. No. Please. The guards don't respond. They never do. More screams. Then silence. 10 minutes later, the boots walk back down the corridor. The door slams. The screaming man is gone. Slivko will never see him again. He doesn't even know his name. In Black Dolphin, you don't make friends. You just count the days until it's your turn. 10:45 a.m. Exercise time. But in Black Dolphin, exercise is a joke. Slivko's cell door opens. 2 guards stand outside, batons ready. Vicodite, they command. Come out. Slivko steps into the corridor, hands behind his back, head down. The guards grab his arms and walk him 20 feet to a small concrete box. It's called the exercise yard, but it's really just another cell. 10 feet by 10 feet. No equipment. No sunlight. Just 4 concrete walls and a patch of sky above covered by thick metal grating. Slivko is locked inside. He has 30 minutes. He paces back and forth. 8 steps one way, 8 steps back. That's all he can do. There's no room for push-ups or sit-ups. Just pacing. He counts his steps. 100, 200, 500. It's the only way to pass the time. At exactly 11:15 a.m., the door opens. The guards escort him back to his cell. Exercise is over. He won't see daylight again for another 24 hours. 12:30 p.m. The mail slot opens. A single envelope drops onto the floor of Slivko's cell. This is rare. Death row inmates almost never receive mail. Slivko picks it up. The return address is from Moscow, the Supreme Court. His hands tremble as he tears it open. Inside is a single page. Official letterhead. Legal jargon. He scans the words, his eyes darting across the page. Then he sees it. Your appeal for clemency has been denied. Execution will proceed as scheduled. Scheduled? What schedule? They didn't give him a date. They never do. Slivko crumples the letter and throws it across the cell. He knew the appeal would fail. They always do. In Russia, death row appeals are just a formality. Once you're sentenced, you're dead. It's only a matter of when. But now it's real. Now it's official. Slivko curls up on his bunk, staring at the ceiling. For the first time in years, he feels genuine fear. 2 p.m. The death row wing is silent. No voices. No movement. Just the occasional drip of water from a leaking pipe somewhere down the hall. Slivko lies on his bunk, staring at the cracks in the ceiling. He's memorized every single one. 73 cracks. He's counted them 1,000 times. There's nothing else to look at. No books. No TV. No radio. Russian death row prisoners are given nothing to occupy their minds. The boredom is designed to break you. And it does. Some inmates go insane. They start talking to themselves, screaming at invisible enemies, banging their heads against the walls. The guards don't care. Slivko hasn't reached that point yet. But he's close. He can feel it creeping in, the madness, like a shadow at the edge of his mind. He closes his eyes and tries to sleep. But sleep won't come. It never does during the day. 3:47 p.m. A scream echoes through the death row wing. Not a scream of pain. A scream of rage. Pure, animalistic rage. It's coming from cell 4G. Slivko sits up, listening. The screaming continues. Then banging. The prisoner is slamming his body against the cell door, over and over. The guards appear within seconds. Slivko hears them shouting commands. The banging stops. Then a different sound. The thud of batons hitting flesh. Again, again, again. The screaming turns to whimpering. Then silence. The guards drag the prisoner out of his cell. Slivko hears the man being pulled down the corridor, his body scraping against the concrete floor. He's being taken to the punishment cells. The karcér. Isolation within isolation. A pitch-black hole where you're kept in total darkness for weeks. Most prisoners who go to the karcér don't come back the same. Some don't come back at all. 5 p.m. The food slot opens. Another tray slides in. Dinner. It's identical to breakfast. Black bread. Watery kasha. Lukewarm tea. Slivko eats mechanically, not tasting anything. Food is just fuel now. A way to keep the body alive for another day of waiting. He wonders how much longer this will go on. Weeks? Months? Tomorrow? He pushes the thought away. Thinking about it only makes it worse. When he finishes eating, he places the tray at the door. It's taken away. The slot closes. Silence again. Quick reminder, if you're still watching, hit that subscribe button. I cover the darkest prison stories from around the world, and you don't want to miss what happens next in this 24-hour nightmare. Also, drop a comment. Could you survive even one day in a place like this? Now, back to Black Dolphin. 7:30 p.m. A guard walks slowly down the death row corridor. He stops at Slivko's cell. This guard is different from the others. Younger. Crueler. He enjoys his job a little too much. Slivko, the guard says through the bars. His voice drips with mockery. Ysysh. I heard your letter came. Slivko doesn't respond. He knows better. Engaging with guards never ends well. The guard laughs. He says, soon. Then he walks away, his boots echoing down the hall. Slivko's jaw clenches. He wants to scream, to smash his fists against the wall. But he doesn't. He just sits there, hands shaking, rage boiling inside him. This is part of a torture. The guards know when executions are coming. The prisoners don't. It's psychological cruelty, and it's deliberate. 9:15 p.m. The overhead lights in the corridor shut off. Only dim security lights remain, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow. Lights out. Time to sleep. But Slivko won't sleep. He never does. Not really. He lies on his concrete slab, pulling a thin blanket over himself. It does nothing against the cold. His breath fogs in the air. Outside, the wind howls. Snow batters the window near the ceiling. Winter in Siberia is brutal. Inside Black Dolphin, it's almost as cold as outside. Some prisoners freeze to death in their cells. The guards find them in the morning, stiff and blue. Slivko pulls the blanket tighter and closes his eyes. But his mind won't stop racing. Tomorrow. Will it be tomorrow? He doesn't know. And that's the worst part. 11 p.m. Slivko drifts into a half-sleep, hovering between consciousness and dreams. In his mind, he sees faces. The faces of the children he killed. 7 of them. Boys, all between 9 and 15. He sees their eyes. Terrified. Pleading. He wakes with a gasp, his heart pounding. Sweat covers his forehead despite the freezing temperature. The nightmares are getting worse. They come every night now, more vivid, more real. Some death row prisoners say it's guilt. Others say it's the mind breaking down under isolation. Slivko doesn't know which it is. He just knows he can't escape them. Not awake. Not asleep. There's no escape anywhere. 1 a.m. The death row wing is silent except for the occasional cough or groan from another cell. Slivko is wide awake. His eyes are locked on the cell door, watching the shadows. This is when the fear is worst. In the dead of night, alone with nothing but his thoughts. He thinks about the execution, how it will happen. In Russia, they use a single gunshot to the back of the head. No ceremony. No witnesses. Just a small room, a blindfold, and a bullet. It's over in seconds. But those seconds must feel like an eternity. Slivko's hands shake. He clenches them into fists to stop the trembling. He's not ready. He thought he was. 6 years on death row. He thought he'd made peace with it. But now, with the rejection letter, with the guard's taunt, it's real. And he's terrified. 2:30 a.m. Slivko breaks. He curls into a ball on his bunk, his body shaking. Not from cold. From fear. Pure primal fear. He wants to scream, but he can't. If he screams, the guards will come. And the guards never bring comfort, only punishment. So he suffers in silence, tears streaming down his face. He thinks about his life, his crimes, his victims. For the first time in years, he feels something close to remorse. Not for himself, for them, the boys he killed. He wonders if this is what hell feels like. Not fire and brimstone, just endless cold, endless isolation, and the crushing weight of what you've done. He closes his eyes and prays. Not to God. He stopped believing in God a long time ago. He prays for it to end, for the guards to come tomorrow morning and finish it. Anything is better than this. Before we show you what happens next, 90% of you still aren't subscribed. If you want more stories like this from the world's most brutal prisons, hit that button now. You won't believe what happens in just a few hours. Let's keep going. 4 a.m. Slivko lies awake, staring at nothing. His mind drifts back. 30 years ago. Before prison. Before the murders. He was a teacher. Young. Married. Respected. He had a normal life. Or so it seemed. But there was always something dark inside him. Something broken. Urges he couldn't control. He thinks about his wife. She left him the day he was arrested. Took their daughter and disappeared. He hasn't heard from them in decades. They changed their names. Started over. As if he never existed. He wonders what his daughter looks like now. She'd be in her 30s. Maybe she has kids of her own. Grandchildren he'll never meet. The thought makes him feel something. Not quite sadness. Just emptiness. His entire life erased. As if it never mattered. Maybe it didn't. 5:30 a.m. The sky outside begins to lighten. Dawn is coming. Slivko sits on the edge of his bunk, feet on the cold floor. He's exhausted, but sleep is impossible now. This is it. The hour when executions happen. Between 5:30 and 9 a.m. If the guards are coming, they'll come now. He listens. The corridor is silent. No footsteps. No doors opening. Maybe not today. But then he hears it. The heavy door at the end of the corridor. The one that only opens when the execution team arrives. It creaks open. Slivko's blood runs cold. Footsteps. Multiple guards. Boots hitting concrete in perfect rhythm. They're coming. Slivko stands, his legs trembling. He faces the cell door, hands behind his back, head down. Standard position. The footsteps get closer and closer. They stop. Right outside his cell. 5:47 a.m. The cell door unlocks. It swings open. 3 guards stand there, expressionless. One holds a piece of paper. An execution order. He begins to read. Anatoly Ivanovich Slivko. By order of the Supreme Court of the Russian Federation, your sentence of death is to be carried out immediately. Slivko's knees buckle. The guards grab his arms, holding him upright. You have 15 minutes, the guard says. 15 minutes. That's it. 15 minutes to prepare to die. Slivko is let out of his cell. His legs barely work. The guards half drag him down the corridor. Other prisoners watch through their cell bars. Silent. They know what's happening. Tomorrow it could be them. Slivko is taken to a small room at the end of the hall. The execution chamber. Inside, there's a single chair facing a concrete wall. Nothing else. One guard ties a blindfold over his eyes. Everything goes dark. 6:02 a.m. Slivko kneels. His hands are bound behind his back. He can't see anything. He can only hear the shuffle of boots, the click of a safety being released. A voice. Cold. Official. Do you have any final words? Slivko opens his mouth. Nothing comes out. What is there to say? The voice doesn't wait. Proceed. A pause. Then a sound. A sharp crack that echoes through the small room. Anatoly Slivko is dead. His body slumps forward. The guards catch him before he hits the floor. Within minutes, he's wrapped in plastic and carried out. No ceremony. No witnesses. No record. Just another execution in Black Dolphin Prison. By 6:15 a.m., His cell has already been cleaned, the concrete slab scrubbed, the walls wiped down. By 6:30 a.m., a new prisoner is moved in, and the cycle begins again. 8 a.m. The death row wing is awake. Prisoners eat their breakfast, unaware that Slivko is gone. Or maybe they know. Maybe they heard the gunshot. But no one talks about it. Talking about executions is forbidden. The guards don't acknowledge it. The prison administration doesn't announce it. Slivko's name is simply erased from the records, as if he never existed. His body is taken to an unmarked grave in the prison cemetery. No headstone. No name. Just a number. Prisoner 4B. That's all he was. That's all any of them are. Russia's death penalty was officially abolished in 1996. But Black Dolphin still houses prisoners who were sentenced before the moratorium. They remain on death row in legal limbo, waiting for executions that may never come. Or may come tomorrow. No one knows. Human rights organizations have condemned the conditions at Black Dolphin as torture. Prisoners are kept in complete isolation, given no mental health support, and subjected to constant psychological abuse. Many go insane. Some take their own lives. Others, like Slivko, simply wait. The Russian government denies the allegations. They claim the prison is humane, that prisoners are treated according to international law. But the prisoners tell a different story. A story of cold darkness and endless suffering. A story the world refuses to hear. This is what 24 hours on Russia's death row looks like. No second chances. No appeals. Just cold silence, and the constant fear that today might be your last. Anatoly Slivko was a monster. But even monsters don't deserve to be tortured. If you want more stories from the world's most brutal prisons, check out my video on North Korea's death camps. It's even worse than this. Link on screen now. Don't forget to subscribe, because I'm covering cases like this every single week. And drop a comment. Do you think death row inmates deserve this treatment, or is this taking punishment too far? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.